What's going on there, folks? Good morning. It is the Earthmaster back here on this finally Friday. Got a pretty busy day ahead of me, so I'm getting this update out early. It is September 15th, 2023, about 10:12 a.m. California time. Don't forget, we got our member drawing coming up later this afternoon. Giving away some prizes there to a lucky winner for the members drawing. Looking at the latest activity here on the globe, shows a 3.6 around the Turkey area. A little bit of movement happening there overnight. Looks like a 3.8 into the Puerto Rico area as well. We'll jump into the earthquake activity here shortly. First off, covering Hurricane Lee. Yes, it is still a hurricane. Look at these differences in the flows here. Upper level winds, lower moisture down there at the bottom. Just goes to show you the dynamics of the weather out here. Hurricane Lee is getting shred apart and weakening drastically as it heads towards the Maine and the New Brunswick area. Nova Scotia going to be in there as well. Current conditions on Hurricane Lee shows that it is a Category 1, 80 mile per hour sustained winds here. It is moving off towards the northeast, taking the northeastern turn right now at about 18 miles per hour. It is picking up speed. There is tropical storm warnings up here across New Hampshire, Maine, New Brunswick area, Nova Scotia. Looks like some other areas further down south are seeing that activity as well as far as the tropical storm warnings go. Hurricane watches are going to be in the pink up here. That does cover a good portion of New Brunswick area. Maine got canceled here as far as that hurricane watch go. There's currently no hurricane warnings, but just a hurricane watch. It means to be, obviously watchful for potential hurricane force winds, but right now, just tropical storm warning. I think this will rapidly degrade here as it heads towards the northeast and continues to get sheared apart. Let's go ahead and check out the latest forecast model here. Let me bring up a different map. We'll pull up the northeast right here. This will give us a good indicator where Hurricane Lee is. There it is, spinning off the Atlantic area. And again, that is expected to hit right around the Maine area and New Brunswick region. Looks like that may obviously be a rainmaker, but as you can see, the pressure is rising and the whole overall circulation of pressure there diminishes. And then after that, I'm not for sure exactly where it goes. We can give a quick glance here at the we'll give it the North Atlantic out here and see where the remnants of Lee will head off to. Looks like it just wants to be caught up in the upper level jet stream here, probably shot over towards Ireland and England area, bringing them some moisture. And then behind that, another hurricane spinning out in the Atlantic. But I think for now, it's hard to say. There's a little bit of development towards the end of September in the Gulf of Mexico, also back out in the Atlantic. For having these really warm water temperatures here, this has not been an above average season for hurricanes. This has been probably just about average as far as the number of hurricanes out here. I was expecting this thing to really kick up, but it's got a lot to do, not only with the oceanic temperatures out there, which are quite warm in the Atlantic and the Gulf, but the upper level wind patterns in general do play a part in inhibiting development in certain areas. Got a massive high pressure ridging out here across the Atlantic right now, or towards the end of September. So we'll continue to watch that and see how the hurricane season continues there. But for the peak, it's kind of I'd say a little bit below background level as far as average goes. All right, let's take a look at earthquake activity. There's that 3-pointer kicking up here into the Puerto Rico Trench near the British Virgin Islands area, 3.8. About 51 kilometers deep. Getting a little squeeze going on here across the Caribbean plate once again. Remember the general plate dynamics here. Look at that. So I'm going to create some more, just real quick, you guys seen a peek of it. So I'm going to create some more decals, newer ones, that are going to have this new type logo on it. And those will be coming out here soon. They're going to be a little bit bigger than the 3 by 4.5 inch or so. They were kind of oval shape, but I'm going to create some bigger ones if you guys want some. let me know. Send me an email at theearthmastermail@gmail.com, and I'll send some out to you. Also, the winners will be getting some as well in our 100,000 subscriber giveaway later at the end of this month. But yeah, little quick peek there at that one. All right, general plate tectonic moving out here across the Caribbean plate shows this area gets squeezed quite a bit by not only the South America plate, but you got the general dynamics here of the subduction zone, the Cocos plate, North American plate up here to the north, and this region just obviously gets squeezed and bullied around, and that's kind of what's taking place there today. Not too much movement down here in the South America region. This is all from last night. A couple fours kicking off down there. South Sandwich Islands, though, I was definitely expecting this one to fill back in. When you get a little gap in between some movement up here in the deeper regions, and then down south here of the plate boundary, I was going to mention that last night. I don't know if I did in the update, but I was going to say watch for this lower area of the South Sandwich Trench to get hit, and sure enough, it did. Quite a few fives popping off down there across the South Sandwich Trench. Continue to watch that for some further movement potentially. Not a whole lot going on as far as Texas goes. Of course, yesterday we did have that 4-pointer outside the San Antonio region near Falls City, Texas. But a couple other smaller microquakes in there. And again, these oil fields that are situated out there across Texas, there's numerous ones here, and they're mentioned all over the maps here. Those will continue to get hit along with the areas outside of that region, other areas that may have some extensive oil fields. Yellowstone National Park, what do we got here? A couple of those earthquakes showing up there from yesterday. They added them onto the map. Let's take a peek here at the Yellowstone overview. There's some of that activity. It's centered south of the Maple Creek area. It looks like around the Purple Mountain or West Boundary area. That did show up across numerous seismograph stations, and the activity in question is going to be these right here. A couple smaller quakes there, and the USGS did show these quakes, which are roughly about a 1.9 and below, occurring yesterday. Today's time frame, not a whole lot going on. A couple other smaller quakes in the last couple hours, but overall general seismic activity there looks about normal for the Yellowstone region. Up into the Pacific Northwest, still got Mount St. Helens up here. Throwing some earthquakes out. 4 earthquakes there in the last 24 hours, so continue to watch that. Through Northern California, pretty quiet, not a whole lot going on. We did see some tremor activity out here yesterday. Let me pull up the tremor map and show you guys the Cascadia tremor. Now, this is activity occurring not at the surface levels, but down into the subduction zone underneath Northern California and underneath Oregon and Washington, down there into the, again, the subduction zone of the Cascadia. The locked area sits offshore. Of course, this whole plate, the Juan de Fuca plate, is being shoved down there. 35, 45 kilometers or so deep, we get this tremor. And, of course, further down, you get the melting and, of course, the volcanic arcs out here across the Cascades in Northern California. And then it will go deeper than that. But tremor activity occurring about 35 kilometers or so below the surface into that subduction zone. We'll watch for some further movement out here. A lot of times when we got that tremor activity, it does put up a little bit of earthquake strain up at the surface area, so we'll continue to watch that. Over here around the Blanco fracture zone, 2.5, well off the coast of Oregon. Nothing big, but still just a little bit of activity occurring out there off that plate boundary. The rest of California here, a little spotty movement here along the creeping section of the San Andreas Fault, just outside the Parkfield area. All right, a little bit of movement also along the North American side of the plate boundary here, just off the San Andreas Fault. That is the southern branch here. We've been watching a little bit of swarming here over the last, it's been the last couple weeks or so. Now it looks like we got a little bit of migration here from that swarming area. Whenever I see stuff like this, just right on the North American side here of the plate boundary in this general area, makes me a little bit nervous because this area doesn't really show too much activity, and there's no doubt this region is strained and locked and loaded, so to speak, for a big one. We'll continue to watch that, though. No major swarms taking place, just a handful of smaller earthquakes around the San Andreas Fault for right now. All right, Alaska area still seeing some movement up around the Cook Inlet region. We did see that 4.0 from yesterday. Handful of smaller quakes out here throughout the last 24 hours. Not looking at anything major going on. Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, pretty quiet. We are seeing slight filling in here across the western Pacific and adjacent plates. Remember, the past 2 days, this has been quiet with very minimal earthquake activity. It looks like things are filling in slightly. Across the area around Guam, northern Mariana Islands area, 4.7, 10 kilometers deep. And a little bit further upstream here around the Izu Trench and the Volcano Islands up here. Looks like that 4.4, 175 kilometers deep. Over here across Taiwan, 4.9 coming in about 3 in the morning or so. Goodness, I had something else happen to me last night. About 1 o'clock in the morning, something fell again. And I was actually a little scared this time because Missy Mimi's did not wake up. Just fell off our dresser or off the countertop here somewhere, like a metal sound. I still don't know what it was. I was looking for it this morning, but it woke me up, and I heard it. I wasn't dreaming, but I heard it. And I looked up slightly just for a second, and I flipped the other way and tried to go back to sleep because it didn't even wake up Missy Mimi. She was sound asleep. But I've continued to get these weird paranormal type events going on still. It's been happening here recently. All right, we'll continue on here. Some movement again outside of Taiwan. There's that movement across the Papua New Guinea area from yesterday, some 5s. Little earthquake activity across the Kermadec Trench earlier this morning, a 5.1 at 6 in the morning. And New Zealand not seeing too much activity. They continue to be on the quiet side of things, and it's a little unusual to see this much quietness across the area of New Zealand for such a long time here. Looks like they did see a little earthquake activity along the Kermadec Trench. It's way up here, but for the most part locally across New Zealand, there's not a whole lot showing up here across the graphs at all. So eventually this is going to have to fill in down here across this plate boundary, right? We've seen so much movement over the past few months. We can bring up the all magnitudes here. And most of the activity obviously up here across the Fiji area, Tonga, Kermadec Trench. Quite a bit of divergent boundary activity here across the Antarctica plate, Pacific, and the Australia plate here. Seeing all that divergent boundary, and that should play a part here across New Zealand with all this movement we've been seeing, and that's only in the past 30 days. So eventually this area has got to show some movement here across New Zealand. We're talking about larger scale than a 3. Definitely 2s or 3s, they come and go along a major plate boundary, but looking for something bigger there. All right, the rest of the map here, rest of the globe. Mediterranean area, quite a few 2s and 3s out there, very typical across that plate boundary. 4.5 out here around the, let's see where that's at. USGS not showing it, but it's over here across the Gulf of Aden area. Some activity, it looks like a 4.5 from earlier this morning. Atlantic Ocean, aside from the South Sandwich Trench down there, things look pretty quiet and minimal. Earthquake activity across the Big Island. Let's see what we got here. Is this the all magnitudes? That can't be right, can it? 1 day all magnitudes? Just one earthquake? From last night? I find that a little strange here. Let me go check out the seismograph stations there across the Big Island. I don't think that's right. Can't be right. Just one earthquake? That seems a little rare. I'm just going to pick this seismograph station here. Now, there's been more than that. Handful of smaller quakes, so I'm not for sure what's going on. And that's just that station. Let me see what's up here across the Kilauea Volcano area. Well, even this area does look pretty quiet. Maybe they're just not reporting the super small earthquakes. Either way, there is a look at the Kilauea Volcano continuing to spew up lava into the lava lake area of the crater. That is continuing and ongoing. The latest informational statement here from the HVO with regards to Kilauea Volcano. This was put out yesterday. They haven't put out the newer one yet, but the summit eruption there continues. It started back on September 10th. The eruptive activity is confined now to the downdrop block in the within the crater area of the Kilauea summit caldera. No unusual activity has been noted across the rift zones. That's good news, because a lot of times this activity underground. The magma can get backed up, blocked, and find other ways and other means to the surface. And that's when we would look towards the rift zones potentially for some activity. But for now, the steady flow of magma up to the surface is easily, it found an easy path up there to the crater lava lake area of Kilauea Volcano. Space weather activity. What do we got here? Well, things dropping off slightly a little bit after somewhat of an active day yesterday. I still think we need to watch a couple different regions there that are facing the Earth, and that's going to be this specific sunspot right here. This is UV filter right here. Looks like a little flaring off in the western limb. Maybe some newer activity coming around the eastern limb of the sun. But we'll continue to watch this sunspot as that is directly facing Earth. Are we still live here? We're still live. Is it maybe space weather? I'm a little scared. I don't like leaving the windows open when they're buffering like that. So I don't know what was going on, but better close that out. Here is the magnetogram image from solarham.net and also the SDO website there from NASA. Notice this complex structure here. Blue, orange, green, a lot of intermixing here within this sunspot core. It's fairly dynamic, and of course these can pop off M and X flares with little warning when they look like that. So just heads up, this is directly facing the Earth, and a bullseye shot would be almost guaranteed if that thing were to produce a major CME. 95% chance for a C flare, M flare at 40% chance, and the X flare remains at about 5% probability. No auroras in the forecast. Looks like they got rid of that potential G1 storm that we were expecting on the 17th. That was from a CME that blasted off on the western limb here. It doesn't look like that's going to affect the Earth at all. Kevin here posted, what do we got here? Earth-facing sunspot 3429 showed signs of a development on Thursday, both in size and magnetic complexity. A pair of M flares were detected within the past few hours. So that's going to be 3429, the region that I just mentioned right here. And that's from last night. The newest imagery shows it a little bit more positioned here, but still fairly complex. We'll watch this area as that does harbor some potential for some strong flares. All right, Storm Prediction Center out here today. Well, there is not any major severe threat. We do have a slight risk of severe weather across New Mexico and Texas area. A large area of 2% tornado probability in these regions listed in the green. Looks like that's going to be around Midland, Odessa, Clovis, New Mexico. These areas might want to be weather aware today, later this afternoon as storms begin to pick up. Hail could be a big threat as well in the yellow. So just a heads up, if you guys are out and about today, keep your car underneath the carport, unless you want some hail dents out there. All right, folks, again, the member drawing is going to be held today. Got another earthquake down here in Tonga. 183 kilometers deep, just coming into the map. Yeah, member drawing is being held today. Not for sure what time. I'm going to shoot for maybe around 2 o'clock my time here. Somewhere around there. Either way, you guys should get a notification because I've only put out one notification today. And that will be this update video. And YouTube, of course, allows 3. So, yeah, there should be no issue with you guys receiving that member drawing if you guys are interested. A lot of people not, but we do appreciate the members here on this channel for continuing to be long-standing members out there. We do give away some perks on occasion, or we give perks, obviously, right? Extra videos, extra emojis, icons, and member drawings every single month. And I'm just going to stick with the prizes for now, which is either a $50 Visa or MasterCard or whatever you want, your choice, and or a Earthmaster t-shirt, your size, your color, your choice, or if you want a geology mining kit. Those are pretty cool too if you're into rock hounding and looking for cool stuff. out here where I'm at right now, I have to travel up in the mountains to do any of that stuff. Down here in the valley, there's just too much farmland. Everything's been turned up and moved around, so I don't think there's anything left to find out here. But it's cool to go up in the mountains and look for stuff, and that geology mining kit is a good benefit. It comes with a pair of safety goggles, of course, and a pick hammer, lots of these little chisels, and it's pretty neat. All right, so yeah, look for that later this afternoon, and of course a very special announcement concerning this channel as we move forward. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later this afternoon for the member drawing. Have a good one, guys. Stay safe out there.